Protoss brethren, are you frustrated because it's been a week, 2 weeks, or longer since you've even logged into Battle.net and played one Brood War ladder game, let alone one productive Brood War ladder game? Are you frustrated because you've been losing an obscene amount of games in a row to stupid cheese builds that do not allow you to practice what you really need to practice? Do any of these situations, both of these situations, sound suspiciously specific to you? Well, fear not. Fear not, warriors. Fear not, brethren. For there is a solution to these rather stressful and frustrating dilemmas. It's coming. It's here. Welcome to a beginner's strategy for practicing this game using the original StarCraft campaign. Well, hello everyone, welcome. My name's Arctic Sun, and today I am going to be talking about some very specific exercises that you can do to supplement your regular ladder practice. This is not meant to be a substitute for ladder practice. This is meant to supplement it. Specifically, those situations that I had mentioned in my rather stupid introduction, but also a third situation in which, for whatever reason, you may not be getting the amount of regular online practice that you need. Now, if you have one of those days where, just everyone's doing stupid cheese builds, one of the days I have too, one of the rough days I have, which is, it's deceptive because I get a free win out of it, but one of the rough days that I have is when my opponent quits the game in the first 10 seconds and I get a free win. Believe it or not, as much as I appreciate the free win, I actually don't like those days either because I don't get any actual practice doing anything. So for whatever your reason, for whatever reason of why you're not getting your regular practice in, maybe you even a third person that this video could benefit, right? Maybe you're in an area where you have bad internet and you can't log in online. You can't do something as simple as log in onto Battle.net on a regular basis because your internet is bad and it doesn't allow it. So you're forced to play offline a lot. If for whatever reason you're not getting your regular online practice in, this video is designed to supplement your regular practice. It's designed to give you exercises for you to do regularly that you don't need to be. I mean, I understand life gets in the way, but you do at the very least need to start up StarCraft more than once a month to get better at this game. But so I understand life gets in the way and I feel you, but if you're serious about getting better at Brood War, it'll grate on you like it grates on me, right? Oh my gosh, it's 2 weeks and I haven't even played a single ladder game. Hell, I haven't even logged into Brood War. Like, believe me, I feel it because I'm trying to get better at this. So yeah, I understand. I totally understand. It happens. And you know what? It happens to pros too. When I say pros, I don't mean players who know what they're doing. I'm not using the term pro as loosely as the StarCraft community uses the term pro, but I mean like actual pros. I mean like Bisu and like Stork and like Flash and Larva, you know, Nartosis and Tasteless and Cadenzi and Scarlet. I know because I watch some of their streams often. It happens to pros too. It happens to pros and it happens to noobs alike, you know, that for whatever reason you're not getting your practice in as often as you would prefer. That's fine. What's critical is that you recognize that you're not getting it in as often as you prefer, and you do something. Specifically, you start up StarCraft and you get your practice in, right? That's it. It happens to everybody. It's totally okay. So anyway, this video is designed to supplement noobs who may be going through that. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to go through it alone. It's also particularly frustrating if you're new, you're overwhelmed, you're trying to learn the game, and you don't really know what to do next. You don't really know where to start. You have all these other things that you're worrying about as a new person. It's even more frustrating, I think. So that's why I'm making this video. Because you know what? I was you 6 months ago. 6 months ago, my APM was 50. You know, now it's, I think, just starting to consistently break over 100. You know, it happens. But I'm here to try and help you with a strategy to, I'm trying to help you build a strategy to get that practice in that you, for whatever reason, you're currently not getting on the ladder as often as you need to. So, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going into single player. And original StarCraft single player. For these exercises, you do not need to open up Brood War. The Brood War campaign, rather. And we're going to play 3 missions. 3 missions. And those 3 missions are going to be in episode 1 of the Terran campaign. These are the ones right here, the very first 3: Boot Camp, Wasteland, and Backwater Station. And I'm going to start them up. We're gonna before we actually start playing, we're gonna talk about why we're doing this exercise in the first place. I'm sure there's some experienced players that are probably watching this video right now going, Arctic, you idiot, why could you possibly even go back and revisit these stupid simple missions? They are pretty simple. So if you're not experienced player, for I'm about to tell you. So anyway, yeah, we're going to go into why we're practicing. We're doing these specific exercises with these missions. We're also, before we start, we're going to go into somewhat of a game plan, so we know we have an idea of what we're doing for the whole game, and we also have an idea of what we're doing at the very start of the game. What I've found from my experience, having a game plan is probably the single most fundamental aspect of building your APM. Having a game plan. You know, now the other fundamental aspect is it depends on your hardware familiarity, right? And I'm going to be going over my hardware because I play on different hardware than most of you. Well, I play on very specifically different hardware. To quote Day9's phrase, weirdly different hardware for you. Right, so than you may be using. So I'm going to go over that. The first thing I'm going to point out is one of the critical parts of your hardware that you probably are using that mine is different. right? This, my brethren, this right here is a keyboard. It's a full-size keyboard. Well, not perfectly full-size, but it doesn't have the numpad. But for the purposes of StarCraft, it's basically a full-size keyboard. This right here, mine is wireless. My full-size is wireless. It's Bluetooth. It's crap. That's why I don't play with one. So, this is what I do play on. Right here. This right here is a single one-hand keyboard. And if you'll notice, it has quite a few keys. It actually has 21 of the 26 letters. So, for StarCraft purposes, it has all the letters I'll ever need and more. So right here. The other thing I play is because of this keyboard, because of this limitation in lettering, in letters I have at my disposal, but also because of just the general configuration of it. I use grid mode. I play with a grid hotkey setup. So yeah. So I'll touch more on like hotkeys and help you visualize it and my hardware. I'll even talk about at the end. I'll even talk about I'll talk more about my specific hardware that I'm using, in case any of you are actually using the same hardware that I'm using or comparable hardware, right? Like a keypad or something. But if I don't know. I can't speak to keypads because I've never used one. But the only thing I've used is single-handed keyboards. So if you're using a single-handed keyboard like me, I'll also include some stuff at the end, towards the end of this video, that addresses the hardware. For those of you that are in my exact situation, but I will be touching on hardware every now and again. So anyway, so let's start this mission. We're gonna skip the backstory and the briefings. If you want to read that, you can read all of that on your own time. I've read those 800 million times, and it's not relevant to this video, so we're skipping it. But anyway, we're going to start the boot camp mission. Okay.
Welcome.
Okay. So, I want you to take note of this screen right here real quick. Well, I'm going to bounce to the game. I want you to take note of this screen right here real quick. This whole screen. Now, one of the benefits to doing exercises in the campaign, like we're doing right now, is you have a privilege in the StarCraft campaign that you do not have on the StarCraft ladder. All right, so for the extraordinarily noob among you, you'll notice this right here. This little feature. There. This is called a timer. Noob 101 timer. Okay. All right, jokes aside. So you do not want to take this for granted. This exact screen right now, you do not want to take it for granted. You do not want to start up right away, because you have a privilege with this screen that you do not have on the Brood War ladder. You have the privilege of taking as much time as you need before you even start playing to develop a game plan. Now, probably my best bet is that if you're watching this, you've probably played through this mission at least once. If you're like me, I've played through this mission dozens of times. Not hundreds, but because it's a tutorial mission, but certainly dozens of times. Now, right now, I'm going into this mission knowing the map. I know... I don't have committed to memory, like, identically exactly where everything is. I can't tell, I can't tell you, like... Well, I can't tell you, like, exactly in this region where the Zerglings are. But I know that right about in this corner here somewhere, there are some Zerglings. I know there's a Zergling up here somewhere. I know that there's... Oh, sorry, you can't see the minimap. Let me flip over to here. I can't tell you, like... If you look at the mini-map this way, where's my? This is interesting to do, by the way. If you don't practice this, is pointing exactly. So this screen down here, this screen down here. I'm a nut. So if you look at this screen down here, you'll notice the mini-map right here where my cursor is. In this region, this kind of area right here where my cursor is, I don't know. I don't know identically exactly where the Zerglings are, but I know that they're somewhere. So I know if I move my Marines in that area, I should be expecting to find some Zerglings there. I know that, like, here there's like a Zergling waiting for me, 2 of them, whatever. I know down here there's some Zerglings waiting for me. I know I've played this enough to know that I know where some of the things are before I even go into the game. This is actually critical knowledge to have. So I've played the map enough that I know the map enough that, I know where things are. But for those of you that don't, you may want to play through this a few times without actually practicing it. You may just want to start this up a few times, run your Marines around the map, and you probably don't need more than 8. So get like 8 Marines in a group and just run them around the map, get acquainted with where everything is for the first if you're not familiar with this map. If you are familiar with it, skip that step and catch up to where we are now. Why are we even here? Why are we even here playing this mission? This is the tutorial mission from a 20-year-old game. Well, this exercise rather, we're going to be reinforcing some really basic concepts that, as a noob on the ladder, you need to be good at. You need to get better at them and be good at them. There are some very critical core concepts. One of them is exploring the map. In Brood War, we call that scouting. Another one is developing your base, developing your economy. You'll often hear this being referred to as saturating your minerals. I'm not going to go into detail of the basics of resources and stuff, but anyway, yeah. So you need to know how to scout, and you need to know how to saturate a mineral line. And one of the hard things that's one of the hard things that's difficult at first. It's difficult at first, but as you play, you'll get better at it. Is knowing about what your resource saturation for your base is. How many SCVs do you need to build before you have the How many SCVs do you need to build in each base before you have the economy that you need to have to supports what you're trying to do? That's a hard skill. That's not, you will be good at these exercises long before you're ever good at that. I can verify that from personal experience, right? Because that's exactly where that's exactly one of the things that I ask myself, but I don't really need to right now. Well, I kind of need to because I'm starting to develop strategies for myself. But anyway, so we're going to be looking at the early. We're going to be looking at some basic resource saturation. We're not going to be able to completely saturate this right away, I'm going to tell you, but we're definitely going to be building. Well, we're definitely going to be saturating at more than 4. That's for sure. So, so we'll be doing what you'll be doing. We'll be doing in this base what you're going to be doing in your main base when you first start. With more or less, we're actually going to start with 3 fewer SCVs, but you'll be basically doing the same thing, working on saturating that mineral line, and more accurately, the specific situation that we're going to be simulating in this exercise is when you take your first expansion as a Protoss player. As a Protoss player, these three exercises are really good because, well, this particular exercise is really good because you should not be building off of one base. Ever, as a new player. Never. You should always be building off of a 2-base economy. 2-base economy when you're starting out. So this mission will actually this will help when you're conscious of that context. This mission will actually help you reinforce developing your outpost, developing your natural expansion. So, and by the time you have a natural expansion, if you're playing against a Terran player, or if you're playing against a Zerg player, not so much, but if you're playing against a Terran or a Protoss player, you're not going to be rolling in. You might be exploring the map a little bit. I don't know how you play it. I don't know how you think, but you might find some useful basics here in juggling, scouting a map and developing a base, right? So that's basically what we're going to be practicing, what we're going to be reinforcing with this exercise. So, and a game plan. Definitely want to go into a game with a game plan. You do not want to start a game not knowing what you're going to do. At the very least, if the game plan, the definitive game plan you can make for yourself at the very least is build a probe right away, right? But have a game plan in every game you're starting. Know what you're doing before you go in and try and do anything. That's hard. That's easier said than done. And when I say know what you're doing, I don't mean like know how to execute it. I mean like have a basic outline of what you're doing for the game. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grouping these Marines together into 2 control groups. We're going to put them on 2 separate hotkeys. We're going to explore the map with them, with both the Marines. We'll be using a combination of just straight up moving and A moving. In fact, I might even experiment with move stop to see if they actually. I might experiment with that to see if the Marines actually fire faster than if they would if I A moved. But anyway, conceptually, 2 groups of Marines. Explore the map with those 2 Marines. So the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be building up our base, right? So as you can see, we start off with 1 SCV. When you build your natural expansion, you will quite likely only have 1 SCV. And we start off with a command center, so we don't need to build it. We also start off with a supply depot. We don't need to build that. So what we're going to do right away is we're going to build an SCV here. We're going to take this SCV and build another supply depot. And then we're going to assign everything to hotkeys. I'll call them out as I'm assigning them. I won't explain why this game, why I'm using my specific key assignments. I'll just call them out. And once this finishes producing an SCV, we're going to lift off and move this command center closer to our mineral line. We're going to mine the minerals with this SCV right here. And then when this guy's done, we're going to send this SCV over to mine. And then from that point, it's just constantly producing SCVs. This is another critical fundamental skill in StarCraft, in Brood War, is worker production, constant worker production. I have a hard time with constantly producing workers off of one worker in the queue. If you're like me and you have a hard time doing that, do what I'm going to be... Excuse me. Do what I'm going to be actively trying to do this game, right? Queue up one worker behind it. The key, the conception, the takeaway you want to learn at this point that you want to cement that you want to cement internally is constantly build workers. It is not constantly queue up one worker at a time. If you can do it one worker at a time, if you can do it, do it. But if you can't, if it's something that's hard for you, like it is for me, queue up one, right? If you can't do it on one, do two, right? Have two workers queued up at a time. Because yeah, you'll be spending those resources that you could otherwise have spent on something else. But in my opinion, it's a worthwhile investment because the key takeaway you need is constantly produce workers. And so if you constantly have two queued up, you will always be producing one at a time. So, if that's something that you're having a hard time with, do what I'm doing, right? It's 50 minerals. It's 50 minerals. It's a worthwhile investment. When you have 5 or 6 SCVs, you'll be getting 50 minerals, no problem anyway. So you'll be making 50 minerals back, I should say, no problem anyway. So when you have like 5 or 6 SCVs mining, you'll be making, I think it's about 6 or whatever. You'll be making 50 minerals back almost as fast as you spent them. So when you have enough SCVs, that's chump change. And for starting out, it's a worthwhile investment. So, invest extra 50 minerals. Invest an extra 50 minerals when you can support it, and queue up 2 SCVs. Have 2 SCVs in your queue at a time. Because, like I said, the key critical takeaway, cannot repeat this enough, constantly produce workers. Constantly. So that's our basic game plan, and we're going to go into the game here. All right.
The T-280 SCV is the cornerstone of our hostile environment construction and resource gathering operations.
All right, so I'm putting this command center on 8.
In order to build a thriving colony, numerous SCVs are necessary. You can build additional SCVs at a command center.
Permission to speak freely, sir. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to send us into hostile territory,
these are going on 2.
then use the attack command.
These are going on 3.
To ignore enemy fire and go exactly to the spot you targeted, then use the move command. Now, which'll it be? Rock and roll.
All right. And now this guy's going to go here in mine.
Right away, sir.
All right, so as you can see, we don't have a lot of minerals yet. Whoop, sorry. Let's flip it over to the game. Sorry. So, as you can see, we don't have a lot of minerals yet up here. That's okay. So, we're going to move out with these guys. We're going to A-move because there's a Zergling right nearby here.
Roger that.
Whoops, no.
Right away,
not with the SCV.
Affirmative.
3.
Something to shoot.
A-move.
Let's move.
2. A-move.
Go, go, go.
queue up an SCV, right? And so we're gonna 3, A move, 2, A move.
SCV good to go,
Alright.
sir. I read you. Orders
Your
received.
forces are under attack.
Okay. So now, what we're gonna do? So now what I want to do is I want to queue up an SCV here, send them to mine. All right. We're gonna take these Marines up here. I want to see how quick they take out this Zergling.
Go, go, go. Let's move.
SCV good to go, sir.
Standing by. Go, go, go. Let's
That's
move.
pretty fast.
Rock and roll.
But if you notice, it still wasn't that fast.
That. Orders received. Affirmative. Roger that.
You want to try and go for near instantaneous if you can. It's possible. Okay.
Jacked up and good to go. Give me something to shoot. Commander.
If you're wondering how I'm doing this, how I'm moving them at once like this, I will go over that
Good to go, sir.
later.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Okay. But for now, I want to try and take this group here, and I want to see.
Standing by. Outstanding.
SCV good to go, sir.
All right. So with this guy, I'm going to build my supply depot. This is all I need. All right.
Commander.
I want to.
Let's move.
All right. So I want to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move them and stop, and I want to see how fast their fire response
Orders,
is.
Captain.
Commander. Jacked up and good to go. Let's move. Outstanding. Rock and
Okay.
let's move.
SCV good to go,
So so
Go, go, go. Jacked up and good to go.
so if you saw how slow that was, I got one of my Marines killed
Something to shoot. Jacked up and
by,
good to go.
you know,
Outstanding. Rock
by
and
not A moving and move stop.
outstanding.
I got one of my Marines killed by
Go, go,
doing
go.
something different.
Outstanding.
That can happen.
I read you. Reporting for duty. Orders received.
I'm not going to build. I can do it. I'm not going to build. I want to try something different real quick.
Outstanding.
SCV good to go, sir.
So you see our economy right now?
I read you.
You know, this is good saturation.
Commander, standing by. Go, go,
SCV good to
go.
go, sir.
Let's
So
move.
we're going to explore down here.
Jacked up and good
I
to
know
go.
there's some.
Standing by.
Whoa, I don't want you there. I don't want you going there. I want you to go here. I'm letting my minerals rack up because I'm trying to prove a point. I'm trying to demonstrate something
Standing by.
and explore something. So,
Jacked up and good to go. Go, go, go.
okay.
Let's move. Go, go,
So
go.
let's do
Let's
here.
move. Outstanding. Go, go, go. Standing by. Go, go, go.
Okay.
Move. Go, go, go. Let's move. Jacked up and good to go.
Okay.
Go, go, go.
Whoops.
Let's
It's not
move.
exactly what I wanted to
Give me
do.
something to shoot.
All right.
Outstanding.
Well, let's go down here and do it with these Zerglings.
Reporting for duty.
If you're like me and you're taking your sweet time dilly-dallying and you need to build more supplies, build them.
SCV good to go, sir. Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Give me
All
something
right.
to shoot. Outstanding.
So what we're going to do
Rock and roll.
is we're going to try moving and hold positioning with
SCV good to go, sir.
our healthier group.
Commander,
All right.
let's move. Outstanding.
This is good information to know because if they can react, if the Marines can respond faster with move hold position, it might be better to use that instead of a move. So that's why I want to know.
Let's move.
SCV good to go,
Go,
sir.
go, go. Rock and
Okay.
roll. Let's move.
So they don't respond faster with move hold position.
SCV good to go, sir.
So there, we saw that I queued more than 2 up at a time. I did that because I knew that one of them was about to produce.
Commander, standing by.
That's okay if you know one's about to
Good to go,
produce.
sir.
It's just, as you can see, it's just kind of, you just feel it out.
I read you.
You just feel it out. And
Orders, Captain.
and do with, and kind of go by feel. All right. So these guys are going to move over here.
Rock and roll. Jacked up and good to go.
Now here we have a ramp.
Jacked up and good to
I know there's some stuff up here
Rock and roll.
waiting for me.
Sir.
Whoa, that's not what I need. Why'd I build?
Reporting for duty. Affirmative, job finished.
All right.
Reporting for duty.
So now what we're going to do is we're getting close to the end of the mission, so we're going to build this refinery here.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
And-
Reporting for duty. Roger that.
This is pretty saturated, so I'm going to stop building SCVs. I'm going to focus on.
Commander, outstanding. Give me
I'm
some
going to focus on this with my Marines.
rock and roll. Commander, rock and roll. Let's
There we go.
move. Outstanding. Standing by. Give me something to shoot.
This is a good skill to know, by the way. It's
The
why.
refinery processes raw Vespene gas,
Move 'em down
converting
here.
it into a form which your
Mine faster.
SCVs can gather.
I read you.
So 3 usually saturates. I'm doing 3 because of that reason. But
Standing by.
this skill that I'm doing right here with my Marines,
Give me something to shoot.
this is a good skill to do.
Commander,
I'm basically moving them all at once.
Commander, standing
So
by.
that's why I'm
Go,
doing
go,
this.
go. Standing by. Jacked up.
This is a good skill to have because, as you saw,
Standing by.
I was able to move up this ramp with all of my Marines at the same time.
There will now be a fully capable
So now when
section
they
at
attack,
Wasteland base.
They'll all be there at the same time. They'll respond with more. They'll be able to kill whatever's attacking me faster. Moving, I'm doing this skill more right now. I'm practicing it more because it's a good skill to have, to move all of your Marines at the same time. All of your units. You can do it with, not just Marines, Fire Bats, Dragoons, Zealots, whatever. It's a good skill to have, to move all of your units at once. So that's why I'm doing it. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm talking a lot to demonstrate and to explain, but as you can see, that video, it went by a lot slower because I was talking a lot. But as you can see, that's exactly what we were doing, right? Exploring the map with our Marines, bouncing back and making sure the 2 SCVs were queued. Every time an SCV produces, if you can, go over and assign it to mine, right? You do not want to do what I was doing in that game where I had like 5 of them. I had 5 of them lined up. I had 5 of them just sitting there, not doing anything. You definitely don't want to get in the habit of practicing that. You definitely want to get in the habit of moving back to your command center and assigning your SCV to do something. Idle SCVs are bad. If you have idle SCVs, you're losing out on something. You're losing out on build time, which is bad for you're losing out on building something, which is bad for your build. You're not building it on time, which is bad for your build. You're losing out on mining, which is bad for your economy. You're losing out on something when you have idle SCVs. So you don't want to get in the habit of doing that, exactly like I did on the video there. But like I said, I'm explaining and demonstrating, so and I don't have these mastered, so my brain can't juggle 2 things at once, right? My brain can seem to do more than one thing at the same time if I have one of them internalized and automated. But if I don't, my brain can't do 2 things at once. So that's why those SCVs were piling up. But ideally, you don't want that to happen. So in this game, we're going to try and talk a little bit less during the game. We'll still narrate as best we can, but we're going to try and talk a little bit less in this next mission, in this next exercise, and we're gonna, especially with our SCVs, and we're just going to be doing. So, okay. So this mission is the Wasteland mission. Why are we practicing this? Because this mission gives you this mission gives you some warm up in some basic macro. Macro in StarCraft, when we talk about macro, we're basically talking about producing multiple units. We're producing multiple units. Well, no. Dial back. We're producing units from multiple structures as efficiently as possible. That's what we mean by macro. It's short for macro management, right? So that's what we're doing, is we're macro managing a base. We're producing from as many structures as efficiently as we can. In this map, we'll be doing basic macro. We'll be producing off of 2 structures. We'll be producing we'll be producing workers or SCVs off of our command center constantly. Or as constantly as we can. But I take that back. We'll be constantly producing because I'll be queuing one up. We'll also be we'll be producing out of our barracks constantly. So we'll be producing workers constantly and army constantly. This basic skill that we'll be reinforcing with this exercise is also a critical skill in StarCraft. You need to know how to macro. You need to. You need to produce as many units from as many buildings as you efficiently can. The ideal that you want to work for, that you want to strive for, which is what we're going to be doing, is that we're going to be striving for, is constant production. You want to constantly produce Marines. You want to constantly produce SCVs. This is a critical basic skill to have, especially as a Protoss player. I can't speak to other factions because I don't play them, but as a Protoss player, we are often in situations where we're constantly producing probes and constantly producing zealots, or constantly producing probes and constantly producing dragoons. So this is a critical fundamental Protoss skill to have, is basic macro. And in fact, this is what we will be reinforcing with this exercise. So definitely do this. I would say if you're thinking about priority, if you think about how to prioritize these exercises, the tutorial exercises, definitely prioritize it. Definitely do all 3 of these if you're starting out. If you find in your games that you're scouting, you're constantly scouting the whole map, and your map intel is constantly really good, then maybe don't practice the first exercise as much. But when you're first starting out, definitely practice all 3 of these exercises. So that's why I'm including all 3 of them in this video. I mentioned that because that's kind of where I am. I've played that tutorial mission, replayed it so many times, and my scouting, especially early on, my scouting is so like I scout all the time. In fact, that's probably, if there's one thing I do consistently well every game in the first 5 minutes, is scouting. So, if I mention that because I'm in that situation where, I scout every game really well, and so me personally, if you see me doing these exercises, which when I start streaming StarCraft again, I will be doing these exercises myself before the ladder. Before I ladder. If you see me practicing these exercises, I will not be practicing all 3 because I really feel like my scouting is pretty good. So I mentioned that because that's where I am. And if you see me doing these, you may not see me doing all 3 of these. But I'm not doing all 3 of them because I'm in a different place than you might. You know, I'm probably, well, I'm not gonna say probably. I'm in a different place than you might be. If you're brand new and your APM is really low and you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do, I am definitely in a different place than you are. So if you're in that situation, you're brand new, you're starting out, and you're doing these exercises, do all 3 of them, right? Do all 3 exercises. Now, our game plan, we're gonna assign both of these guys to control groups. We're gonna meet up with Raynor. Once we meet up with Raynor, we're gonna use Raynor to basically solo all of the Zerglings that we're gonna come across. He's not gonna die if he solos everything. Raynor's a beast. He can take a lot of hits. So we're gonna solo all the rest of these Zerglings with Raynor. When we get to the game again, when we get down to the main base that you saw on the south, when we get to that command center, we're gonna lift it off and move it to the northwest. There's a high ground base in the northwest. We're gonna move it there. We're gonna clear that out with Raynor, and we're actually gonna do the mission at that base. The reason why is because that base it's gonna give you a lot better practice, a lot more realistic practice at where you're gonna actually be experiencing when you ladder, right? When you ladder, you're not gonna experience minerals that are, halfway across the friggin' map like you do in these first few missions. So we're gonna lift off to that base and do it from there. We're gonna hotkey our command center. We're gonna put Raynor on 1, and we're gonna put our SCVs on 3. We're gonna put our Marines on 2. And when I hotkey them, I will call it out this time by telling you how to hotkey into a control group. I'll be calling out the actual keys to press. So we're gonna put the SCVs on 3, the Marines on 2. We're gonna put Raynor on 1. Now, this is important. In this game, I think I'm going to start talking about the importance of hotkeys, and at this mission, I'm going to talk about it because it's important. So, sorry, we'll cut back to this real quick. Why do you want a hotkey? Well, why specifically am I calling out these key assigns, and why do you want to practice these? Even in StarCraft 2, if you watch, watch all the pro Protoss players play StarCraft 2, and even in Brood War. You can't see their hotkeys, you can't see their control group assigns in Brood War, but I would wager that because it's so common, I would wager that they're using pretty much the same control group key assigns. So if you watch StarCraft 2, you have the luxury, you have the privilege of being able to see what number, what is grouped to what number. So if you watch a lot of pro StarCraft 2 players, you will notice that around the 890 range, 8 and 9 for sure, sometimes 0, sometimes 7, but right around the 890 range is where you see the nexuses go. A lot of the time you will see that. So, and you also, a lot of the time, very common to see, if you watch pros play, you will see them put their army on 1, 2, and 3. Now, there are deviations from that, and you may fine-tune deviations from that at whatever helps you organize things. But if you watch pro StarCraft 2 players play, gosh, Hearthstone, Rotterdam, right, and even pro and pro StarCraft 2 Protoss players, stats, you name them, you're probably seeing these key assigns. So you're probably seeing these control groups. So, and these are very common control groups as well for Brood War. So we're going to be putting I'm going to pull out the keyboard. I'm going to pull out the hardware so you guys that are using full-size keyboards can visualize it, right? So this keyboard right here, get in the screen. There we go. So right here, 1, come on, 1, 2, and 3. These are in general where our army is going to go. And in fact, in these next 2 missions, we're going to be, getting closer and closer to a full-size army. So in this mission, we're going to be using 1 and 2. And in this mission, we're also going to be using the key assign 3 for the SCVs. So we're going to be using all 3 of our army hotkeys in these next 2 missions. Now, using a full-size keyboard right here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be hello. All right, we're going to be putting our command center on 8 right here. Now, if you're doing 2-3 bases, 2-3 command, we're going to put our command center on 8. When we play on the ladder, that's where our main nexus is going to go. Where our main nexus is going to be on 8. Now, if you're playing on the ladder, you're going to be doing, you're going to be getting in the habit of building 3 bases at the same time. So we're also going to put our natural on 9, our natural command center on 9, and we're going to put our 3rd command center, if we use it, we're going to put it on 0. Now, for these 2 missions, we're not going to get further than 9. So I want to mention those. Now, and I'm calling out full-size keyboard right now because most of you are playing on a full-size keyboard. In fact, probably virtually all of you are playing on a full-size keyboard. So I'm showing this to help you visualize. So here, number 4, we'll be building a barracks this game. Our barracks is going to go on 4. So what we'll be using 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll also be using 8 right here for our command center. So that's what we'll be using this game, and I'm bringing the keyboard out to help you visualize it. That's, by the way, the visualization for this is mostly for demonstration, but that's, by the way, how I organize things. Is I organize things visually, and I learn things visually. So this would help me as well. Learning in this, like teaching in this exact way. If I taught myself this is how I would teach myself. So anyway, so 1, 2, 3, and 8, and 4. Those are the ones we're going to be using. Now, without further ado, let's get into the game. All right. Oh, and I'm going to go over a technique. I'm going to go over a technique in the beginning before I start, because it's a new technique that I'm learning, and I guarantee you it's going to really help me, and it's going to really help me in my in the fluidity of the game. Right? It's helping me. So I'm going to go over it. I'm learning it, and I want to also show it to you. So let's get now let's get into the game. Okay. Okay. So what we have here in the beginning is we have a bunch of units here. Now,
Can't believe we're being sent to the Wasteland. These Confederates think they can push anybody around.
Now, This first hotkey trick that I'm going to show you, what it does is it instantly selects all of one unit type. Now, in Brood War, the most you can select in a group is 12. So when I say all, what it's going to do is it's going to select all 12 of one type of unit. It's a really handy hotkey trick to have if you have specifically if you have like lots of reinforcements at your rally point that you're going to use. It's a really handy trick to have. It's a really handy hotkey. So I'm going to explain it to you right now. It's called select all. So and the basic command is control select, or how I remember it, and if this is how you remember it too, control click, or if this also helps you remember, more specifically, control left click. So I'm going to control click these Marines.
Give me something to shoot.
Look at that. Beautiful. Now, you'll notice we still have 5 more units here. We only have 5 Marines, but that's all the Marines we have. But we have 5 more of another type of unit. In this case, we have an SCV. Now, what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to assign these Marines to 2. Control 2.
Reporting for duty.
So now, they're assigned to control group number 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click,
Jacked up and good
and
to
I'm
go.
going to shift box.
Give me something to shoot.
Now, how I remember that, well, I remember that by shift box or shift select. Either one of them will work for me personally, but for you, shift box, shift select, shift box group, shift select group, whatever, right? However you learn it. The key takeaway that you want to learn is now, on top of selecting all of these Marines,
Something to shoot.
you're also selecting all of these SCVs. So if you want to select all of these, right? Control click,
You're gonna give me
shift
orders.
box, control click,
My God,
shift select,
he's whacked.
control select,
We fragged this
shift
commander.
box, shift select, whatever, right?
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit? You want a piece of me, boy?
So that's a habit you want to get into, because as you can see, it works really well if you have under 12, less than 12 units total, and you want them all in the same group. Look at that. I now have 5 SCVs and 5 Marines in the same group. But in my case, I want them in 2 groups because.
Reporting for duty.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these SCVs, and I'm going to assign them to 3 by doing Control 3. So now,
Standing by.
Orders,
press
Captain.
3 and I select all my SCVs. Now, if you play this mission, maybe you want to have all of them in one group. So here's a great skill to practice and select all of them in one group. You ready? We're going to do it again. Control click, shift box. It's a whole lot. Trust me. Yes, you can do this and select all of them.
Commander.
Orders, Captain.
Commander.
Right, or you could do that. You could do that too, but trust me, this.
Standing
I
by.
read you.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Control click,
Jacked up and good to go.
hold down Control and select.
Reporting for duty.
Right. Control click,
Commander.
2, select,
Orders, Captain.
3.
Jacked up
Orders,
and good
Captain.
to go.
There's another trick, right? So to go over how I did that, I assigned 2 control groups.
Give me something to shoot.
I assigned 2 separate control groups of units
For duty.
while not lifting a finger off of the control key. So how did I do that? Hold down, right? So how did I do that? Let's go to this CC. All right. Hold down Control, click,
Jacked up and good to go.
select Marines. Do not lift your finger from Control. I'm using my other hand. Do not lift your finger from Control. Keep holding it down Control. Select 2 to assign to 2. Keep holding down Control. select your SCVs. Keep holding down control, select 3.
Give me something to
Report for
shoot.
duty.
Standing
Report
by.
for duty.
Give me something to
Orders,
shoot.
Captain.
Look at that, 2 control groups.
Report for duty.
2 control groups, and I didn't lift a finger off of my keyboard. Literally didn't lift a single finger off of my keyboard. And yes, I am being completely accurate and truthful while also being semantic. I didn't lift a single finger, one single finger off of my keyboard. And I got 2 control groups. Great skill. Control select. Great skill. In fact, for the purposes of this, of making 2 control groups, I would do that. I would prefer that over, any kind of shift or whatever nonsense you want to throw in there. 2 separate control groups and 2 separate units. So, control select. Oh, sorry. Let's do it again. Right? Control select.
Standing by.
2. Control select.
Report for duty.
3.
Give me
Orders,
something
Captain.
to shoot.
Right? Now, if I want to select all these units, don't do that. I mean, you could do it, but you're not going to learn any useful skill that's going to help you in game fluidity if you do that. I know, because I've done that for 4 or 6 months, whatever. I've done that for 6 months. I just discovered these 2 things I'm showing you today. I've done it for 6 months. Believe me, you don't learn anything, right? Don't do this. Don't select all. No. Control select,
Give me something to shoot.
shift box. Don't hold down control when you do this, right?
Commander,
Control select.
we gotta move.
So control select,
Are you gonna
shift
give me
box.
orders?
Do that. Do that is a much better skill. Learn that. Trust me, you will thank me later. You will beat me on the ladder someday, and you'll be like, "Hey, Arctic, I beat you on the ladder because I learned your skill. Thanks for learning it. You're welcome. You're welcome." Trust me, you will be very happy you learned that skill. All right. So, we got our 2 groups here. Now, I'm going to move them at the same time
I read you.
Give me something
for
to
now
shoot.
until we reach Rainer. Now I'm not.
Orders, Captain.
That's why I'm using 2 separate groups.
Standing by.
Orders received.
Standing
Yes,
by.
sir.
Jacked
Right
up
away,
and
sir.
good to go.
Orders, Captain.
Standing by. Give me
Yes, sir.
something to shoot.
Orders, Captain.
Commander,
Report
standing
for
by.
duty.
Give me
All
something
right.
to shoot. Standing by. Rock
Report
and
for
roll.
duty.
See?
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Raynor, Marshal of these parts.
This is not what I'm doing right now. This kind of unit movement fluidity. You don't have to learn it right away. It's not a critical skill. This is just where I am, and I'm getting some of my own practice in as I'm making this video. So I am kind of benefiting myself. But if you do want to learn it, well, voila. Now you have it. Now you can learn it with me. All right. So we have Raynor.
Give me
We're going to
something
treat
shoot.
Raynor as our caster, and I'm going to put my caster on 1. Now, why do I put my caster on 1? Now, if this is what you're using, I'm going to flip it back over. If this is what you're using, this full-size keyboard right here, you do not have to do what I'm doing. I specifically put my casters on 1, and my other core ground army on 2 and 3. You do not have to do that if this is what you're using. You can put them wherever you want, because even if you're using grid hotkeys like I'm using, I'll go into hotkeys in another video, another time. But even if you're using grid hotkeys like I'm using, and you're using this kind of keyboard, it doesn't matter where you put them in 1, 2, and 3. It really doesn't. They're all easy. You can reach the appropriate keys that you need to reach very easily. So if you're using a full-size keyboard, you do not need to put your caster on 1 like I do. I basically need to put my caster on 1 for this kind of stuff that I'm trying to do. The reason why is because this is what I use. This keyboard. Now, if you look at this keyboard, it looks really bizarre. But one of the first things you'll want to notice if you look at this keyboard is there's 3, there's 2, there's my closest grid key. Great. Oh my God. Beautiful. Shit. What genius came up with this perfect symmetric design? My goodness. Look at that. But you'll notice here, well, what the hell? What the hell? That one key's all the way over there. The heck? This doesn't feel right. What? What? That's why I put my caster on that key. Generally, I'm not, when I use my casters, I'll kind of, I mean, when I use my casters, if I'm trying to move my whole army, doing that, I can very easily move my casters with the whole army, because what I'm doing when I move my whole army is I'm doing 2 motions at once. And it seems a little bit weird, but it's exactly the same the same thing you're doing when you're playing a guitar. Exactly the same thing, right? So with one hand, when I'm moving my whole army, if I have my whole army on 1, 2, and 3, right? If I'm moving my whole army, I am pressing keys back and forth. I'm just constantly cycling keys, right? So in this case, I have my whole army on 1, 2, and 3. So if I want to move my whole army, the keys, the groups that I'm cycling constantly are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can see, still can't get that right. Although this is like the second time I practiced it. If you look at this screen down here, and you look at the units in there, as I'm pressing 1, 2, and 3, you're watching the units change, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. For the visual learners in the back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? That's what I'm doing. Now, if I wanted to move all of these at once, that's what I would do. But for this, for this mission, I'm not going to really do that, because I want to clear some stuff out with Raynor, because Raynor's really beefy. So I'm not going to really move my army as a whole army in this mission, but if you wanted to do that and you have 3 control groups of units, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I wanted to do that last game, that last mission where I had my army on 2 and 3, and I want to move all those units at once. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Spam it. Spam that as fast as you possibly can. It's really easy to spam 2 and 3. Right? Do that as fast as you can. I'm doing it with my fingertips right now to make the example more pronounced, right? This, I'm kind of using the bed of my fingers, so it's harder to see. Fingertips. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Spam that. Spam that. Spam that with one hand. And if you're trying to move everything at once, spam those cycles with one hand. 1, 2, 3, or 2, 3. Spam all that with one hand. With your right hand. With your left hand. Now, you can do this with this next thing I'm going to show you, the other half of this. It doesn't matter if you're using a single-handed keyboard like I am, or if you're using a full-size keyboard like normal people do. All right. All right. So this is a mouse. Disregard the side buttons. Those are irrelevant right now. So this is your left mouse click, your right mouse click. So you saw I was spamming 2 3 2 3 2 3 2 3, right? Or 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. With my keyboard hand. 1 2 3 with one hand, with the other hand, as close to exactly the same time as you can do it. If it means you have to spam it to get it right, spam it. Right click.
Outstanding.
Move.
Rock and roll.
Right?
Go, go, go.
They're moving to the corner of the map right now because I have my screen and my mouse to the corner of the map. Spam right click with the other hand, with your right hand at the exact at as close to the exact same time
Let's move.
as you're cycling. Right?
Let's move. Outstanding.
This is what you're doing with your right hand. Do this at the exact same time, as close as you can. What it'll look like on the screen, let's go back into the game. When you're doing both those things at the same time, bring these guys over here.
Outstanding.
Right? This is my right hand. This is my left hand. I'm gonna highlight these three. All right, and actually I'm not. I'm gonna use my regular hands. So all right, I use my middle finger. I had to verify. All right, when I'm spamming my right click with my middle finger, and I'm cycling with 2 and 3, or 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Do these together. Try and go back a little bit. This is what this motion looks like. Looks really funny when you take your hands off your keyboard and mouse. This is what I'm doing, right? I'm doing that with both hands that's closer to what I mean by at the same time, right? I'm trying to visualize it for you so you're not lost. So you know what I'm talking about and you can try and replicate it and duplicate it yourself. All right? So that's what your hands are doing at the same time. Both hands, right? Right hand, left hand, right? And it looks like you're tickling your it looks like you're tickling your hardware, right? That's what you're doing on your hardware. And when you're in the game, so I'll show you the motions again with these two control groups I'm using. Right? All right. And I'm not going to flip you off, so I'm not going to show you only my middle finger, but all right. Move it back. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing with both hands when I'm doing this movement, right? With both of my hands. My left hand is on 2 and 3, just spam cycling them. My right hand is on my mouse, spamming the right click. That's what I'm doing with my hands. All right? I'm explaining it. I'm showing you. I'm trying to visualize it. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like in the game. Ready? This is what it looks like when you do both of those motions for the sake of illustration, doing both those motions at the same time. This is what it looks like. This is what I'm doing. Ready?
Yes,
Commander,
sir.
give me something to shoot.
Yes, sir.
Standing
Right away,
by.
sir.
Jacked up.
Right
Good to
now.
go.
It's not perfect, but
Give me something to shoot.
Orders,
Jacked up.
Captain.
if you're doing something like
Reporting for duty.
Give me something to
I
shoot.
read you.
Give
you're
me
doing something like trying to move your units
I read you.
Good to go.
Orders, Captain.
Commander.
at the same time in the same direction, that's what it is. Basically, you're moving your army units. The goal that you're trying to accomplish,
Reporting for duty.
if I can do it.
Give me something to shoot.
Yes,
Standing
sir.
by.
Wow. You're going to stop at the bridge, you dumb workers.
Reporting for duty.
You are not getting, I don't know what, you are not getting paid overtime. Dumb workers. Okay. So,
Commander.
this is what you want to achieve.
Reporting for duty.
Standing by.
Reporting for
Jacked
duty.
up and good to
You
go.
want them to move at the same time in the same direction. If you have to do it once more to correct an SCV like I had to do it. It doesn't matter. Who cares? This is what you want. Same time, same direction. All of your army that you want to move.
Jacked up and
Right?
good to go. Standing by. Jacked up and good to go.
Ready? Same time, same direction. So, now if you want to separate them like I do. All right, cool. So, let's go back to Rainer. Let's move on with this mission. I wanted to go over some of that, because that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And for those of you that want to learn that right now, there you go. There you go. Now you can try it on your own and get good at it. For those of you that don't want to learn that, sorry, disregard that, segment there, but okay. So now this basic thing, this is the basic principle of why I created 3 separate control groups, right? Because I want to use Rainer for the remainder of the combat. I want all these Marines intact, so I'm going to move them behind Rainer. And I want to move my SCVs behind my Marines. So this is an exaggerated formation, but this exaggerated formation is why I have 3 control groups, all 3 Army control groups for this mission. But it's good exercise, so I would recommend you do this. It's good exercise for using all 3 of your control groups and for doing 3 unique things with those control groups. I would, once you've mastered the basics, the real basics of just what I'm trying to do, I would also encourage you to try and experiment with moving your army at the same time. Once you're comfortable with the basics, I would do that, because that's also a great thing to do. So we're gonna use Rainer. Move on. We're gonna kill this with Rainer. We're gonna control 8. If you noticed, if you noticed the first time I showed you my keyboard, I don't have 8 on my keyboard. But if you didn't notice that, I'll show you again later. So disregard that little detail. But right now we're gonna lift off the command center, move it up here to the space. We're gonna scout, and we're also gonna land.
This is Jimmy.
We're gonna move Rainer over here.
This should be good. Oh yeah. Sounds fun. This should be good. Oh yeah.
Kill that. All right.
Right on.
Now, I'm gonna put my mines down here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put all 3 of them down here because that's my build.
Right on.
That's what I do. So now,
This should be good.
originally when I did this the first time, I wanted to put these mines down here because I wanted to bait these Zerglings into the mines. But I'm gonna try and do that right now.
Right on. Sounds fun.
First time I did this, and I learned this, what I'm about to see. Look at that. What?
Sounds fun.
Oh wait, that worked. Okay. So if you don't attack them, they don't actually follow you down the ramp. They actually bug out right here on the ramp, and they don't move anywhere. The first time I did that, I was like, oh, you assholes, you fucking assholes, you smart little fuckers are not following me down the ramp. But as you saw there, I was surprised. That's the first time I saw that work. So, as you saw there, with this trick, if that's happening and they're bugging out, and you want to bait them into the mines,
This should be good.
if they bug out on the ramp, hit them with the vulture.
Right on.
Hit them with the vulture. If they're too strong and they don't die, what they'll do is they'll follow you down into the mines and they'll die that way. If they got hit with the mine like that one did,
This should be good.
and you bait them again, you'll be able to shoot them and kill it. So,
Oh yeah.
doesn't really matter. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to move our Marines down here.
Go, go, go.
We're going to move our SCVs here
Roger that.
separately,
Right away, sir.
because up to
Orders
this point,
received.
I would be moving them separately. And then when we get to here, we're going to move them at the same time. When we approach this base, we're going to move them at the same time. When we get to these minerals, when we get to like about where the base is, we're gonna have the SCVs mine the minerals, so we're gonna land here. Ready?
I read you.
I'm kind of going over. If you saw me play this game without talking, this is what I would be doing.
Reporting for duty. Orders,
So
Captain.
it's taking forever because I'm talking,
Orders, Captain.
Standing by.
Yes, sir.
right? All right,
This is Jimmy.
cool.
Standing by.
Move our Marines up here, down here.
Roll. Go, go, go. Let's move.
Kind of mess around, put them like there, whatever.
Anytime you're ready.
And now,
Yes,
we're
sir.
ready to. Oh, sorry, we're not ready yet.
Roger that.
Ready to build an SCV
Orders, Captain.
and
Roger
mine.
that.
Okay. So what I want to do pretty quickly is I want to build a supply depot here.
SCV good to go, sir.
You need at least 2 supply depots, 2 more supply depots. You technically have 1 down here, but you need to build at least 2 supply depots for this mission. So, all right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on producing SCVs and eventually Marines at the same time and finish the mission. Basic macro. All right.
SCV good to go, sir. Orders received. Roger that. Job finished.
Not enough
I read you.
minerals.
Orders received.
Okay.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty. Yes, sir. Roger that.
So because I'm trying to keep 2 queued, it's going to take me a minute to get the barracks up, but that's okay.
SCV good to go, sir.
All right. And this is, you don't have to do this. You don't have to spam. You don't have to spam to raise your APM.
SCV
But-
good to go, sir.
It's good to be in the habit of always trying to do something. So that's why I'm doing it. Okay, now we can build a barracks. So let's go do that.
SCV good to go, sir.
Not enough minerals.
Whoa.
I read you.
All right.
Right away, sir.
Now we have enough minerals. That happens sometimes too.
SCV good to
You
go,
get mineral
sir.
blocked.
Orders received.
All right. So we're going to put the barracks on 4. Control 4. 4, 8. 4, 8. Right?
SCV good to go, sir.
I'm kind of going over a lot of these basics now because in the next mission I'll be trying to use them, but I don't want to talk about them because it's a complicated mission. So, it's a much more complicated mission than this. So, keep an eye on your supply.
SCV good to go, sir.
If you're only producing like workers, it's okay to build your
Infantry units such as Marines can be trained at this facility.
Right away, sir.
if you're only producing workers, it's okay to build your supply at like 1 before you get blocked, but
Yes, sir. Roger that.
you never want to be supply blocked, so you always want to monitor your supply.
You want a piece of me, boy? Jacked up and good to go.
SCV good to go, sir.
All right, so I'm going to build it now because I'm supply blocked. Like I said, I didn't want to be. Queue up that.
You want
All
a
right.
piece of me,
Additional
boy?
supply
So-
additions required.
As you can see, there's technically nothing I can do right now.
Away, sir.
My SCV is building. I can't build anything. I can't watch anything, but I'm still going to do something. So I'm still going to spam cycle. Because you always want to be in the habit of doing something, especially if you're in my position where, like right now, where you're trying to break out of the habit of sitting around and doing nothing and having 60 APM.
SCV good to go, sir.
You want a piece of me, boy?
So that's not what I want to do.
Yes, sir.
4. There we go.
Yes, sir. Orders
All right.
received.
So now you can see, as you can see,
SCV good to go, sir. Orders, Captain.
34 supply is more than enough for this mission.
You want a piece of me, boy?
SCV good to go, sir.
All right.
Standing by.
Reporting for duty. Orders received.
We are just
Sesame, boy.
We are. Look at that.
Supply depots required.
So, this is, by the way, of all the times I played this mission, this is the most I've dilly-dallied, right? Usually when I play this mission, I am not up here at 34 out of 34. I'm at like 30, 31 or whatever. So, but because I've been dilly-dallying, trying to explain stuff and trying to show you, trying to explain stuff, trying to show you cool little hotkeys and stuff you can learn as a beginner. You know, because I'm too busy explaining, I'm not on top of my macro and I'm not focused. So you do not need to build more than 2 supply depots. 34 supply. We're supply capped, we're supply blocked, and the mission is over. So you do not need to build more than 2 supply depots for this mission. That is a fact. I am going to go on record and call that a fact. You can write a textbook on that and say that 34 supply is the max you will need for this mission ever you could possibly need. Because I'm a noob and I can do it at 34. All right. So we're done with that. We're going to move on to the third exercise. I think at the end of this video, what I might do is I might replay these if I have time. What's my time like? Okay, so I'm not going to replay them, but I'll make a separate. I'll probably make a separate video of me doing the exercises. All right. So what I need to do is I need to open something up on my cell phone and keep an eye on it, because as you'll probably hear my Echo Dot say in a minute, it's going to be coffee time soon. So I play June's Journey on my mobile phone, and so gotta be on top of coffee time. Gotta do well. You don't have to. You know what? I'm gonna be kind of late to coffee today because I'm making this, but yeah, you play June's Journey, don't want to be late for coffee most of the time. My group's cool, but a lot of groups aren't. So anyway, digressing. Let's move on. All right, so in this next exercise, what we're gonna do is at least put out my coffee.
Receiving incoming transmission. Comlink established.
I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. I have a video, so.
Provide you can sidestep any more surprises from our Confederate friends, and we can keep away from those critters.
All right.
They should have an easy time.
Priority alert. Backwater station under attack by unknown alien organisms.
Oops. Let's skip this.
Distress beacon activated.
My apologies. I said I was gonna skip it, and then I got sidetracked doing something else. All right. So why are we doing this mission? The basic thing that I'm going to say we're reinforcing with this mission, it sounds simple, it's complicated as crap. It is probably one of the more, I'm going to say if you're 100 APM and you're a noob, if you're under 100 APM and you're a noob, this is probably going to be the second most complicated thing you're going to need to be able to manage as a noob. The third most complicated is the skill you really need to be able to do, which is manage 3 bases early on. But this is the second most complicated thing you're going to need to be able to do as a noob, which is manage 2 bases. It's actually not easy. There's like, as you'll see, there's like a million actions. That is the factual scientific number, a million. I'm kidding. There's like, excuse me. There's like a million actions that come into play when you're trying to manage 2 bases. So it's not easy. It is hard. But if you can do it and you're a new player, you're in a good spot. And as you'll see, if you're trying to manage two bases and you're on top of everything, or you're like me and you're trying to be on top of everything, your APM will naturally be high. It will actually, if you're trying to actively be on top of everything, and you are, your APM will naturally be over 100. So when people talk, when we in the StarCraft community talk about noobs, which is exactly who I'm making this video for, is like actual noobs. When we in the StarCraft community talk about this, we generally mean people who ladder at under 100 APM. Because if you're doing, especially when you have as many buildings as we're going to have on this map, if you have two bases full of buildings, and you're on top of everything as perfectly as you need to be, you will be over 100 APM guaranteed. Depending on how well you're doing it, you know, you might be like 150, whatever. If you're low, like if you're a beginner like I am, if you're a beginner Protoss like I am, you know, you may not be over 150 average APM, but you will guaranteed be over 100. So if you're actually on top of everything, and if you're trying to stay on top of everything that you need to be. Now, what are some of the things that we need to be on top of? Well, I'm actually going to talk about them. I'm going to go into them in detail when I'm talking about the game plan. So the basic thing that we need to do, the basic general concept of what we need to do is, let's go into the game here for a minute, so I'll show you. All right. We need to get these guys right here, our army guys. We need to explore a little bit with them. But in particular, where we need to explore is toward the north. That's the specific place we need to go. So one of the things that we need to do, like not like immediately right away, but basically like one of the next most immediate things we need to do off the bat is move these guys up here. I say ASAP when I mean that, in like when I'm talking about like this close to the start of the game, right? So what we need to do ASAP is move this army right here up to the north. We need to move them up there. There's some Zerglings up there, some cheap Zerg units. We need to clear out the Zerglings. We can actually solo those Zerglings with Raynor. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say all the Zerglings that we come across in the beginning stages of this game, we could probably just, run Raynor around and kill them all. They're super easy, and like I said, Raynor is super strong. So we could probably solo all these Zerglings with Raynor, but for sure we need to solo those 6 Zerglings to the north with Raynor. Once those Zerglings are cleared out, we're going to have Raynor hit the creep colony. We're going to have our Marines hit the creep colony with them. And then once that's taken care of, then we kind of move on with those guys. Once that's taken care of, then what we're going to do with our army units is basically move them to our rally area and start rallying units there. So that's what we're going to do with our army, conceptually. What we're going to do with our base is a few things. We're going to lift off this command center right away because we don't need it. We don't need it down here anyway, and we certainly don't need it at this stage of the game. So we're going to lift it off. We're going to move it up north. We're going to land it. We're going to land it where the other 2 command centers are. In fact, you're going to watch me. I'm going to lift off and land all those command centers so they're in a line. They're like, right next to each other in a line. All right. And from those commands, barracks. Not command centers, barracks. Barracks, not command centers. So we're going to lift out this barracks. We're going to land it where the other two barracks are. And then you're going to see I'm going to move those barracks. Hopefully I'm going to remember to move those barracks in a line, right? Barracks, 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 right? Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3 barracks, right? And when I start rallying units, they're just going to go right in the line down from those barracks. So super, super easy base management and efficient. So we're going to lift off our barracks, move it up there, and that's where we're going to produce from. We're going to put our command center on a control group on 8, and we're going to be constantly producing out of this. Try to be. That's going to be our goal. Once we hover over the bunker, we're going to get some SCVs. Probably what I'm going to do with those SCVs is activate the rest of the base with them. Doesn't matter exactly how you activate the rest of the base, but that's what I'm going to do with those SCVs probably. So I'm going to activate the rest of the base with them. At the northernmost, we're going to get a second command center. We're going to put that command center on 9. And then those SCVs, I'm going to send them to mine. So then when that happens, when we activate our base, we're going to get some fire bats. So with all these starting units, we're not actually going to build any army units yet. All the stuff we're going to do in the early game, we can do it with all the units that we start with. So once our base is activated, we're going to send our SCVs to mine, and then I'm going to be doing, resources and stuff. So the next thing I want to talk about conceptually, what we're going to do is we're going to establish our control groups. We can actually establish all of our control groups with all the units that we start with. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll be putting Raynor on 1 again. I'll be putting these Marines that you see here on 2. And then when we get those fire bats, I'm going to put them on 3. And those fire bats are going to start, like when they unload from their bunkers, they're going to start at about where the rally area is already. So just to give you an overall game plan. The goal of this game is to kill the Zerg's infested command center. This map, even though it's like the second mission of the game, third if you're being technically accurate like me and counting the tutorial, as early as this map comes in, this is actually the first map we play where we actually learn some StarCraft, like where we take all of our basic principles in our mechanics and our fundamentals that we're trying to put together. This is the first map where all those principles kind of come together and in a mission format, and everything we have to do in this mission, it's what you actually have to do to win a game of StarCraft. So I say this with the absolute most intent and accuracy that I can. This is the first game, if you really want to go back into the campaign and learn some StarCraft, this is the first mission in the game where you're able to do so. The other 2 missions up to this point were basically like warm-up missions. The first mission we explored the map and did some resource management. And did some resource saturation. The second mission, we did resource saturation and army production, basic macro, right? We were producing from 2 buildings. Those are very simple kind of warm-up exercises. And in fact, that's exactly how, if you are to do these missions as exercises, that is exactly how I would recommend you approach those first two missions. I would recommend you approach those first two missions as warm-ups, right? It's like, it's like if you're doing a workout regimen, right? What do you do before you do a workout regimen? Well, you stretch, you warm up, you exercise, right? You kind of get yourself warmed up for your workout regimen. This map right here, this map is your workout regimen, is doing this mission and doing to be more specific, doing this mission mindfully. Not just doing this mission, but doing this mission in the headspace of setting up your control groups, using your locations, producing all your, producing your buildings, producing from your buildings constantly, managing your resources, making sure your resources are saturated, right? All that stuff. Believe me, the concept is simple, but the execution, these are some hard things that take a lot of practice to master. So, this mission is your workout regimen. This is the mission where you're doing all of those things at the same time, and it's the earliest mission in the original StarCraft campaign where you're able to do all those things at the same time. Yeah, theoretically, like if you wanted to, if you really wanted to stretch out that last mission, right? You could build a second command center at wherever you're at. You could build a second command center at that mineral patch to the south, that open exposed that open exposed area where the supply depot is, the starting supply depot is. If you really wanted to stretch that mission out and practice 2 base management, practice saturating your main and starting to develop your expansion, you could actually stretch that mission out and build your command center first before your barracks. But even if you did it that way, that mission has a very finite end time. Once that 5th Marine goes out, that mission's over. So that really is more of a warm-up mission, right? But this mission, there is no warming up, right? Or there is warming up. There is no end time to this mission before, the win condition for this mission doesn't have a finite, an ending. The win condition for this mission is not as finite as build some Marines. It's technically finite. All win conditions are finite, but the win condition for this map, for this mission, is to destroy their command center. Effectively destroy all of their buildings. I don't remember specifically if there are any buildings that they have. I could throw a cheat code in. In fact, I might when I have time, just for laughs, to see if there are any buildings I could be targeting. But your win condition when you play on the ladder is to destroy all their buildings. Most of the time, you don't literally. Most of the time, the game isn't literally over when all the buildings are destroyed. When all yours or all your opponent's buildings are destroyed. Most of the time, it's over well before that, because your opponent is smart enough to go, well, crap. All of my army died. There's no way I can produce enough reinforcements to counter this in time. I'm dead. I'm not gonna sit around and wait for their army to come to me. Right. I'm dead. I'm done. Game's over. GG. Right. Most of the time, that's what happens on the ladder. So the win condition is technically when all of the buildings are destroyed. But, That is the technical win condition. So that is basically the win condition of this map. So this map is, when I say that, I literally mean that at the most technical level. This map is your introduction to learning StarCraft. Okay? I took all of that explanation to say there's no lie there. In the absolute most technical definition, this map is your introduction to learning StarCraft. So that's why this is your practice regimen. Now, what we're going to do with our control group, I'm going to bring my handy dandy demonstration keyboard out. I'm going to talk about hardware before we start. We're going to be using all, if you're in my situation, the most I have is 9. But if you're like most of you and you have your standard keyboard, you actually have 10 number keys on your keyboard. So we're going to be using virtually all of our controls, all of our control groups, right? We're going to be using 1 through 9 in this mission. And I'm going to show you, right? There's your keyboard. All right. So what we're going to have here, let's see if I can do this. All right. We're going to have over here on, is that delete? Yeah, that's backspace. Okay. So we want to be over here on this side. All right. What we're going to have right here on 1 through 3, right? We're going to have our army here on 1 through 3. Me, I'm going to be always putting my casters on 1, because the reason why I do it is because if I need to use my casters, I have very specific there's very specific things I'm using my casters for. So if I need to use them, they're going to have kind of their own unique use anyway. And if I'm trying to move them, the most I'm going to be doing my casters with my army, the most synergy they're going to be having with my army probably is moving with my army, right? So if I'm trying to move my casters with my army, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be cycling through 1 and 3. If I'm going to be using them, they're going to have different uses anyway. So for me, I'm going to be putting my caster on 1. I'm going to be putting Raynor on 1. Raynor in these exercises, Raynor is your caster. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm trying not to shout, but you know, the game is really loud in my headphones, so my natural inclination is to shout. I'm trying not to. All right. So 2 and 3. We're going to be using 2 and 3. So Raynor's on 1. Starting Marines are on 2. Starting Firebats are on 3. We're going to fill in 2 and 3. Once 2 and 3 are filled in, and we have 2 full control groups of infantry, we're going to be ready to move out. And we're going to kick more than enough ass with those 2 control groups of infantry. Probably you can beat this, probably at least when it comes to defeating the whole army. When it comes to killing all the Zerg units, you probably have enough firepower with just 1 control group, but there are some situations you'll see that are going to be a little tricky, so having an extra isn't bad. Plus, to kill the command centers are tough. With 2 control groups, you'll have the firepower to kill the command center pretty quickly. So we're going to be using 2 control groups of infantry, and Raynor on 1, our caster on 1. So 1, 2, 3. That's the army. Those are the army hotkeys we're going to be using. Now, our next hotkeys that we're going to be using are 4 through 6. We're going to have 3 barracks, and we're going to be producing from all 3. The only thing we're going to be building that's different from what we start that we're going to be adding is supply depots, but we'll get to that in a minute. So here's 4 through 6 right here, right? We're going to start our barracks, our starting barracks, the one you see on the screen. All right, we're going to put that on 4 right here. And then the other 2 barracks we're gonna find that we're gonna use. We're gonna put them on 5. We're gonna put them on 6, right? So when we're trying to monitor our production, which you're gonna see, I'm gonna try and remember to do, and I'm gonna do it at least once. When we're trying to monitor our production to see how our Marines are going, we can do that. We don't have to be looking at those barracks to do that. We could be doing something else and check them. So what we're going to do that is just like we spam cycled through our infantry units, we're going to cycle through these to monitor, and as quickly as you can, right? If you can't cycle them, if you're not good at cycling them, like I'm not good at perfectly cycling through 4, 5, and 6 consistently. So what I do is I spam them. Now, if you spam them, that's also okay to do, because theoretically what you should be doing, right? I use grid mode again, so I'm going to show you on this keyboard, on this full-size keyboard, the hotkey that I'm going to be the hotkeys that I'm going to be using to produce Marines, right? So I'm going to be using, right? These are the hotkeys right here. So, wow, that looks like a power cord. All right, so this is right here. This is Q. If you're using grid like I am, this is build a Marine. So I'm going to do, where am I at? 4? 4Q, 5Q, 6Q, right? 4Q, 5Q, 6Q. It's not perfect, but that's what I'm going to be doing. 4Q, 5Q, 6Q. So, and if you're using grid mode like I am, that's how you build a Marine. So ideally, you just saw that motion, right? You saw that motion. If you're a guitar player like me, that's, you know that motion by now. Come on. Really? You're a guitar player like I am, and you don't. You're a guitar player like I am, and you don't know how to do this. Do you use power chords? Anyway, yeah. So if you're a guitar player like me, 4Q, 5Q, 6Q, really easy. And grid mode, really easy, right? So that's, so yeah, if you're a guitar player like I am, you should be able to spam that. And, and build those Marines really instantaneously using that method. Should be no excuses. If you have a problem, if you have a hard time with that, go practice your guitar more. It'll benefit you more than practicing grid war. Go do it. I'm just kidding. Anyway, there's different hotkey setups to use. You don't have to use grid mode, but if you're using grid mode like I am using that setup, that's how you would do it. All right. So on 7, right here, moving on. On 7, we're going to be assigning our supply depot to 7 with this game, because we only need 3 barracks to build from to beat this. Plus, if you're a beginning Protoss player and you're on a 2-base economy, the most you should be producing out of is 3 gateways. That's the most on a 2-base economy. You can't really support, you can't support 6 or more gateways off of 2 bases anyway. So if you're a Protoss player, the most you should be building off of at the same time off of 2 bases is 3 gateways. So we're going to build 3. We're going to be using those 3 barracks, right? Barracks on 4, 5, and 6. So 7 in this mission is going to be, if you're building off of 3 production units, using the layout that we're using, 7 is kind of a free key. It's kind of a variable key. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. For this game, 7 right here, we're going to be building supply depots. right? Now, if you're using a keyboard like I am and you're using grid,
Glad to see you, boys.
whoops.
Time to kick some serious butt.
All right. I should turn my keyboard off. All right. Because I'm not using it anyway. So if you're like I am, and if you're using grid like I am, grid hotkeys, and we're putting supply depots on 7, right? And this is, by the way, for grid mode, this is the same. These are the same hotkeys for building pylons. So you're going to do 7, and then we're going to come over here. Oops, sorry. We're going to do 7, 7, right? Tapping it twice brings you to the location of your builder, right? So 7, 7 to toggle RCV, and then Z down here to just once. You don't need to spam it like I did just now, but Z to build a basic structure, and W right here to build a supply depot. By the way, if you want to build a pylon and you have your builder on 7, same thing, right? Z, Z, W. I'm just showing you visually what it looks like. It also helps me, like I said, or I don't know if I said this, but I'm a visual learner, so this is helping me too. All right. 7, Z, W. Right? Don't really even need to take your pinky. You don't really need to take this finger off of Z. It's kind of cool. Anyway, so we're going to be putting our supply depot SCV right here on 7. Now that's if you're using a standard keyboard, which I'm assuming most of you are. Moving on, 8 and 9, the last two, are going to be barracks. I'm sorry, going to be not barracks. Don't put barracks on 8 and 9. I'll call out when I assign them. I'll call out the number, but I'll call out the number just for consistency and just to help you, help you build up some consistency. But I'm not going to call out the controls this game. So on 8 and 9, we have 8 here for those of you on a standard keyboard, most of you. So 8 here is going to be our first command center that you see in the screen. 9 here is going to be our second command center that we're going to get shortly. So 8 and 9 for your command centers. If you're concerned like I am about finger stretches and how to get across the keyboard efficiently, if you have big hands like I do, one nice thing is that you can do this, right? Again, shout out to the guitar players among you that also worry about finger stretches. All right, so you see my fingers right here on 8 and 9. This right here is my Z key. This is build basic structure, right? So if you have big hands like I do, you can do this on this particular keyboard. You can do this without lifting your fingers off of the keyboard. Beautiful. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do, right, when we want to monitor our production, we're gonna spam these. You don't really, when you're spamming and you're monitoring production, you don't really need to you don't really need to sit there and spam for 2 minutes until your SCVs are produced, right? Especially if you know about how long it takes to build one. You could just, but again, build times are another thing that's for another video for another time. So if you know the build times, you know about how long it takes to build an SCV, you can just do a quick spam, or even spam like this really quick for a second or two, and then go on to doing something, right? But what I want to show you is so again, when you want to go to a unit, you press that number twice. So if you want to go to your builder if you want to go to your builder SCV, your supply depot SCV, whatever you want to call it, and with this setup that we're going to do, with this assignment that we're going to do, 7-7, right? Double tap 7 twice, 7-7, 7-7, right? 7-7. Oh, you can see it really good there. You can kind of see it. So 7-7, and you have your not only is your SCV selected, but now your camera is on that SCV. So double tap, right? Double tap, and your camera's there. Same thing with all of these key assignments, right? So when your SCV is done, when it's built, double tap on 8, and you'll go to this command center right here, right? Double tap, and it'll take you to that command center. You'll see that SCV built. Select it and then assign it, right? Okay, so double tap. That's all it takes. So yeah. So once your SCV is built, if you're looking at finger stretches and trying to see how you're going to navigate the keyboard, not a bad exercise to get into if you're a noob, because if you watch anyone play this game who is beyond beginner experience, none of them look at their keyboard. You'll watch me, you see me looking at my keypad all the time because I'm still a beginner. But if you're any level of experience beyond beginner, you are never looking at this. So figuring out a plan to move across your keyboard is not a bad thing to get into. Another great benefit from using grid hotkeys, by the way, is that it's the same. It's the same. So you don't even really, you don't need to spend too much time figuring out how you're going to get from one key to the next efficiently. So if you're building No, you're not going to be using the builder for that. Never mind. Okay. All right, I'm not going to get into that for that keyboard, because I just totally remembered for this mission, the only SCV we're going to be building with is our SCV on 7. All the rest of these SCVs, we're just going to assign them to mine, right? We're just going to hotkey and right click. Easy. Okay. So the next control groups, the next hotkeys I want to show you are your function keys, right? In Brood War, you only have 3 function keys you can use for locations. And unlike your hotkeys, in grid mode, you can toggle that, you can customize that. Again, this is another video for another time. But in order for you to use grid mode, you can set that up. You cannot set up your location hotkeys, so those are fixed permanently in Brood War on F2, 3, and 4, right? Look at that. You can cycle them though. Beautiful. All right. So on F2, see this mineral patch right here? Right here. Look ye yonder here at this mineral patch. Look ye. Okay. So on that mineral patch right there, we're going to put that on F2. That's F2 right here. You'll notice F2, if you're feeling for it, if you're at 2, right? If you're at 2, F2 is just above. Yep. F2 is like just above 2. I mean, your keyboard might be slightly different, but for the intents of for explaining purposes, pretty easy to get to F2. Same thing with F3, right? F4, right here, right? So super easy to get to, right? So you're sitting here like, you're just going through here, spamming through here. Oh, hey, look at that. I want to check all my SCVs mining these minerals, right? Go through here, right? spamming. Oh, I want to check all my SCVs, my minerals. F2. Super easy. Super easy, intuitive. I was kind of cheating because I was kind of using my second monitor, but you can feel it and you can do it like that. See? All right. We got feeling it. F2, F2, F2. So it's a very easy and intuitive key to get to. So your F2 key, what we're going to do is we're going to center on these mineral patches here, and we're going to assign them to the F2 key right here. This is our first location hotkey. And we're going to assign them using showing you, Shift F2, right? Shift F2 to assign. Shift F2. That's how we're going to assign these. Now, we're going to get a second set of minerals when we get our second command center. With those minerals, we're going to center over them. And we're again going to assign them to our location hotkey. This time we're going to assign them to F3. So Shift F3, Shift F3, Shift F3, Shift F3. All right. And when you assign using Shift, you do want to hold down Shift and assign, just like when you're assigning to control groups, right? You do want to hold these keys down at the same time, right? So hold Shift F3, and that assigns it to your second control group. So now, once they're assigned, you're going to see you're going to see me do this with like every time I get an SCV. You're going to see me use F3 and F2, mostly F2, but I'm going to use F3 at least once, because there's a point where I'm going to take all these SCVs down here. I'm going to have more than enough minerals in the bank. I'm going to take all these SCVs down here. I'm going to move them to the base to the north to mine from the north minerals. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these SCVs in here, and then I'm simply just going to tap F3. And then I'm going to right click to assign them. So that's something you want to memorize. You want to internalize for especially if you're doing stuff like in the ladder. There will be situations where you're sending some probes from your main base to your natural expansion. So with that, you'll probably want to memorize the F click thing, because select the probes that you want to move, and then select the probes you want to move, right? F2 click. Now they're going to mine from your natural. The nice thing about the location hotkeys, there are pluses and minuses to the location hotkeys in Brood War. The nice thing about them is that unlike the numbered control groups, unlike 1 through 0, you only have to press them once to move the camera to them. So once you press F2, it moves to the location, and then click minerals, done. All right. So, that's something you want to practice regularly. In this map, you have the opportunity to do that, right? You want to practice as much as you can. F2 click, F3 click. However you, I'm going to be treating this base I start off with as my natural expansion, as I should, because it has less buildings. I'm really only going to be there for resources and building supply depots, right? So it's effectively a natural expansion. So that's what I'm going to be doing, right? I'm going to be doing F2 click. Grab SCVs, F2 click. Grab SCVs, F2 click. To assign them to my natural. So you'll see these two hotkeys are really, really useful. Our third hotkey that we're going to be using for our location is our F4 key right here, right? F2, 3, 4, F2, 3, 4. F4 we're going to be using for our rallies. Our rallies are going to come later. So with our base, we're going to get at the easternmost perimeter, on the east perimeter of our base, we're going to have 2 bunkers. That's where we're going to get our fire beds from, those 2 bunkers. Right about that area that is like literally right there at our easternmost perimeter is where we're going to rally. And so we're going to put F4 on our rally, right? So to show you what that's like, here it is. All right, show you how that is, right? Shift, hold down Shift, F4. Shift, F4. As you can see, guitar players, I'm looking at you again. No excuses. No excuses. Easy stretch, guitar players. Easy stretch. All right. Anyway. No excuses. Go back and learn play guitar. Just kidding. So yeah, so we're going to be doing Shift F4 again. And again, you know, now F4 is going to be, if you have F4, if you do decide to join me in committing these locations to memory, right? F2 natural, F3 main, F4 rally, right? If you do choose to join me, my brave Protoss brethren, in committing these locations to memory, exactly as I just spoke, you will find, as I'm finding right now as I start to learn to do this, that your base management fluidity and your army management fluidity, it'll feel a lot more intuitive and seamless when you use these specific locations for these specific reasons. It will just feel very intuitive. You'll be like, oh yeah, boom, 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 because eventually your fingers are going to be going all over the keyboard anyway, right? So it's like you'll feel it, and it'll feel good after a while. But you can choose not to do that. I'm only explaining that if you choose to do that. I'm only explaining those mechanics if you choose to join me and do as I do in using those exact mechanics. Now, something I want to go over real quick before we start this game. Like I said, this mission's already going to take a long time, so we want to do all of our explaining right away so I don't have to do it in the game. I'm going to go over another little hardware bit. I'm going to go over my weird hardware. Remember those side buttons I told you to disregard because I was going to talk about them later? Now's the time. My mouse is very kind of unique. There's probably maybe 1 or 2 of you out there that are in the exact situation, or pretty much a comparable situation that I'm in. We're using a weird mouse like I am. So for the 1 or 2 of you that are out there that just so happen to be watching this video, and you're worried if I'm going to leave you out, don't worry. I am not going to leave you out. Not going to. All right, so my mouse, if you'll notice, on the front side, this is kind of a weird mouse. When I got this mouse, I got it specifically for macro managing in a game like Brood War, but it also is really handy in Diablo 3 specifically. I found it's really handy. It's also a really handy mouse to have in like MMOs and stuff. So that's why I got it. I don't just play RTS and I don't just play Brood War, but anyway, for Brood War, you'll look at this, right? It has a few things. We're not using this. This is like a fire button. If you're in a first-person shooter, this is a triple shot fire button. You probably know that. This fire button's a pretty common feature on a lot of these more advanced gaming mice. These are my Left and right click, nothing there. Or with my roller, nothing new there. What this mouse does have is kind of different. Oh, also my DPI buttons, nothing new there. The cool thing about this specific mouse is it's programmable. So even though those are technically DPI buttons, I don't actually have them programmed to DPI. I have them programmed to something else that is useful for me. But what I do want to show you with this mouse, because for those of you, the one or two of you that are using a weird mouse like I am, kind of need to think about this and consider it, right? Most mice, you only have 2 buttons on the side, if you have any side buttons at all. But some mice you have like 4 buttons. You may have like 4 buttons on the side. 6 is a common one. Like 9 is another one you might see. 12 is a common one for some of these more like, you know, MMO style mouse buttons. So if you have more than 2 mouse buttons, if you have more than 2 buttons on the side of your mouse, if you're like that one person that has that's watching this, you may want to listen up here. So, particularly if you're in a situation like I am, where you are using a one-handed keyboard, show it to you again real quick. If you notice, this keyboard doesn't go any higher than 6. All right, so that's something to consider. That's something you do need to, you don't need to think about it too much, but before you start teaching yourself your macro hotkeys, you do need to make a plan for that. So with this mouse, as you will see, I don't know if you can see the buttons, but this has 6 side buttons. This button on the front is 4, 5, 6. Wait a minute. I also have 4, 5, and 6 on my keyboard. Yeah, true. So, you know, what I'm finding, just a general tidbit if you're using a mouse like I am, is that you just kind of feel it out, what works best for you. If you're in this specific game, if you're macroing and you're keeping tabs on your production, more likely than not, you didn't start playing StarCraft on a. More likely, you didn't start playing StarCraft on a single-handed keyboard. I've actually been playing this game for 20 years, and I'm still a beginner because I've never laddered up until this year, and I've just done nothing but play stupid custom games and campaign missions. So it is possible to play this game for 20 years and still be a beginner, and it doesn't mean that you're an idiot, and it doesn't mean that you're not capable of getting way better. Because obviously the person making this video for you right now is an example of that. So anyway, but these side buttons, I want to talk about them. So you'll notice that my keyboard also goes through 6. So if you're monitoring your production with your hotkeys, you don't really want to use your mouse. I'm finding the mouse side buttons are really great if you're doing something like, well, they're okay if you're monitoring like two command centers at the same time. The mouse side buttons in StarCraft, I think that the limit of their really good consistent functionality is monitoring two Nexus at the same time, or 2 command centers at the same time, or, you know, well, this is for Protoss players, so, you know, it's consistent for monitoring 2 Nexus at the same time, and that's about it. That's like the maximum potential it has. It does have some drawbacks, some minuses for having side buttons, and that's one of them. If you have a big thumb like I do, you can you can press two keys at the same time with your thumb, so you could spam and monitor both at the same and pretty much at the same time, and that's all right. That's how I monitor two command centers, two Nexuses. But the other really good thing it's good for, though, is like if you're doing what I did in the last game, where you're monitoring you're monitoring one building on 4 and another building on 8. You're trying to monitor those. Obviously you can press 2 like that. So it has some. It's actually kind of a neat tool. Having a few of these extra buttons on the side. It's a neat tool if your mouse and your keyboard are kind of working cooperatively together, and you can train yourself, physically train your mind, physically, via your mind, physically train your fingers to work cooperatively together. Again, guitar players, the notorious guitar StarCraft Brood War players, basic skill, you all know how to do that. Right. It's if you're playing guitar, it's something you're doing, right? Right. Gonna kind of digress again here, but if you're I'm gonna switch to the screen. So if you're playing a guitar, every guitar player when they've started, they've all had a hard time with this, right? Oh my goodness, a C chord. That means I think that's a C chord. Okay. I got my chord. Let's hold my chord. All right, cool. Got my chord now. Oh, hey, look, it made a sound. I just did an arpeggio. Right. Every guitar player that has just started out playing guitar, and maybe even in the first few months of playing guitar, gosh, you all know what I'm talking about, right? You've all gone through this. I'm preaching to the choir here. Kind of ironic because we're not talking about vocalists, we're talking about guitarists. But anyway, I'm preaching to the choir here, right? So, like, okay, got it. And wait, a chord. I need to try and sound all of these at the same time. Okay, got it, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's a little hard to train. You can do it. You can train your fingers to work cooperatively. You can train your two hands to work cooperatively to accomplish the same goal. In the last exercise we did, right? I was using my Marines. Sorry, I was using my hands I was using my hands cooperatively to move all of my units in one direction. You can do it. It takes some practice. It takes some getting used to, but you can do it. So if you are using a setup like I'm using, or you're thinking about it, you can do it. You can train yourself to do it. So but that's really what I'm finding with this specific setup and with this specific mouse. I'm finding that there are some pretty handy dandy little tricks that you could use so that your hands are working cooperatively together. Your right hand and your left hand are working cooperatively together to accomplish the same task. It's kind of cool. And like I said, going back, I'm going back to it because I draw from a lot of experience, right? If you finally, after months and months of practice, do master holding down your C, I have to kind of position it sort of, holding down your C chord, right? Holding down your C chord, and playing all of your strings at the same time, right? It's called playing a chord. If you do finally master the technique of playing a chord, look at what my arm is doing, all right? Actually, this is probably more like a year, right? A year later, this is easy. What is this called for guitarists? This is called strumming. You know, it takes time, but you can train two different hands to do basically two halves of the, you can train one hand to do one half of one task, so when they both work together, they do that one task. All right. So, if you play guitar for anything, if you play guitar and you're a rhythm player, you know what I'm talking about. If you've been playing guitar any longer than like 6 months, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So I know there are those of you that are out there that are that might be watching this that could very well know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about using two different hands, right? Using your two hands, your right hand, your left hand, to work cooperatively together to do one task, right? Strumming, there's your task. Playing a chord, there's your task, right? If you're a guitar player, you know what I'm talking about. You do it all the time. So it is possible, but for this mouse, what I do when I have it on 8 and 9, right, as you'll notice right here, they're kind of on these back buttons, and I have my so this is where I have my first command center, my main base command center, and my natural expansion command center, right? So it's really easy to you'll notice that even if you have a big, this is about how much space my thumb takes up. If you have really big hands like me and you're using your thumb for these side buttons, it's really hard to get your thumb to occupy all of them at once. So doing 3 Nexus at one time, 7, 8, 9 for my Nexus, doing 3 of them at one time is no. So there are some challenges even with using an FD mouse like this, but there are also some benefits. The benefit is that phenomenon I've been ranting about using both hands to do the same task for a lot of basic tasks. It's really easy to do with this mouse, really easy. So, you know, but now you also know, right? 7, 8, and 9. I don't go any higher than 9. 9 is the highest number I go. So I don't have this extra 0 key on this keyboard that if you're using your regular keyboard you have and you're touching that, right? So, you know, the stuff that I'm explaining to you, the key assigns that I've been talking about, that I've been ranting about in this video, you know, look at your hardware and make any adjustments, any slight adjustments that you need to, that will work well with your hardware that you're using. You know, my 7 key, in this game, my 7 key is going to be my SCV. That's really easy to get to. Just, you know, move my thumb forward and get the SCV. But if I had my 7 key on my as a Nexus, you know, which in ladder more often than not, because I don't have a 0 to put my third Nexus on, often my 7 key winds up being a Nexus. So, you know, you know, and that's just what works with my hardware. So, you know, these key assigns that I'm using, that I'm talking about, right? 7, 8, and 9, 8, 9, 0, whatever. Adapt them to your hardware as best you can. Most of you out there, most of you out there that, some of you, so for most of you out there, virtually all of you that are using a keyboard like this, you may have correctly identified that moment that I was talking about, that mouse that I use, you could have snoozed through that, or, gone and got a drink of water or something, whatever. You may have correctly identified that that's a good moment to do that. Now that we're going back to those of you that are using a standard keyboard, most of you out there that are using this, probably what you'll want to do is put your command center, put your Nexus right here on 890, right? And leave this 7 key right here open. Open for something. There's a lot of things you can do with that 7 key. You can, in this map, we're going to be using it to build supply depots, but on the ladder, some examples, you could put a 4th gateway there. You could put a whole another production unit there entirely that's not a gateway. You can put an upgrade building there, like a forge. There's a lot of things you can do with that 7 key. You can put your builder probe on that 7 key. Something that I might wind up actually doing, putting my builder probe on 7. But anyway, the 7 key, if you're using a standard keyboard, like most of you are, it's a pretty flexible key. There's a few different things you can do with it. But yeah. So that's what we're going to be using. And that's why we're going to be using it, right? We're going to be using, for this map, we're going to be using we're going to be putting our army on 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to be putting Raynor on 1 because Raynor's my caster. We're going to be putting our barracks on 4, 5, and 6. That's pretty standard for gateways. And we're going to be putting our supply depot SCV on 7. We're going to be putting this first command center right here on 8. I'm going to be putting the second command center that we get on 9. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. Organize that, and however works best for you, and put that into sequences that work best for you. For me, I find that because in the ladder, I start off with my main base. I find putting my main Nexus on 8 works, putting my natural on 9 works. So if you use that logic and you have a regular keyboard, putting your 3rd on 0 is logical and makes sense. If you're using that logic and you have a regular keyboard, putting your 3rd on 7 makes sense. So yeah, 7 is a pretty flexible key for our intensive purposes. The key assigns that we're using, it's pretty flexible. You can you can adapt that number to whatever you need. So, but you always want to have a builder probe. So so I don't know, man. Maybe another trick might be that when you're not using your builder probe, to put it somewhere, to put it in a hotkey that you already have. So like for example, if you're building a pylon, and if you're building a pylon and you want to move to something else, but you want to find your builder probe pretty quickly, and you're on a setup like I am, where where you don't have a 0 key, so you're actually kind of limited with what you can do with the 7 key a little bit. You can do a trick like build a pylon and put your probe next to one of your production buildings, so that every time you hit your production building, you grab your builder probe. You can do a trick of trying to build your pylons, trying to build all of your pylons near key buildings. build your pylons near your production buildings. Build them near your nexuses, you know, and then put your probe, you know, put your probe near where you're focusing. You know, if you're focusing a lot on building in your main, put your probe near one of your gateways, right? Put your probe near one of your gateways and build your supply pylons near your gateways. You know, different ways you can do it. There's different ways you can do it, and I'm not really going to go into that. I'm going to get more into the game right here because I've been talking too long. But there's ways you can do it that will work for you. And find a system. Find sequences with your nexuses specifically. Find sequences that works for you. Find a sequence of actions that work really well for you. You know, there's a lot, but like I said, I'm talking a lot. I'm explaining a lot, right? If you're sitting there for 30 seconds waiting for something to build, you could be doing something. You could be doing something. You should be doing something. So do something. You take, you know, that is really the key lesson of all this talking is do something. Do it. Don't sit and wait. Do something. So, all right. So what we're going to do, I went over the game plan. I am going to want to queue an SCV right away here. And I'm actually going to queue like 2 or 3 of them because I have I have the resources for it. And, you know, I'm not building supply depots right away, so I'm going to dump all my money in SCVs and move forward. So yeah. So, and I'm going to call out the control numbers that I'm assigning them to just to reinforce it, but I'm not really going to go over the. I'm not going to really be talking about what I'm doing as much in this map, maybe even at all. So anyway, let's get into this game. Enough explaining. Okay. So let's return. And here we go. See, I'm already in. I'm already in with the plan. I have my pointer on the command center that I'm going to build SCVs from. I already have a plan. Just go in. Use this time where you have this timer in the beginning. If you skip that, pause real quickly. Use this time in the beginning that you don't have on the ladder to come up with a plan. If you have to talk to yourself, if you have to talk talk a game plan to yourself for an hour before you start, do it. Take all the time you need in single player offline that you have all the time in the world before you start. Take all the time. You have all the time in the world, so take all the time that you need to come up with a plan of what you're going to do in these exercises and focus on doing them. That's really, of all this explaining I'm doing, that's the key takeaway, right? Take all the time you need, come up with a game plan, and focus on doing it. And the more you're doing stuff, the more your APM will improve. But the trick to doing that is having a plan, knowing how this whole game is going to play out, knowing how this whole game is going to play out from the moment you start. That's how you build your APM. So here we go. Ready? Let's do this. All right, there we go. Look at that. Put the signs. Look at that. 50 APM. It's all right.
Anytime you're ready.
SCV good to go, sir.
Still learning my keyboard. It's all right. All right. All right.
Read you. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Orders received.
Anytime you're ready.
All right.
This should be good.
Oh, sorry.
SCV good to go, sir.
1,
Commander, jacked up and good
2.
to go.
Not using the lessons I learned in the last video. Also okay.
Give me something
Right?
to shoot. Let's
SCV
move.
good to go, sir.
Go, go,
Don't
go.
need to be perfect. Just need to do good.
Yes, sir. Roger that.
As good as you can.
Orders received.
This is Jimmy.
There you go.
Thanks for the rescue. We've been holed up in these bunkers for days hiding from the Zerg. Roger that.
Go ahead, Commander.
All right, I'm gonna plant a mine here.
Need a light.
What the hell is that? Looks
we
like
go.
the ground there is alive.
I'm just gonna, just for the sake of doing it, I'm working on practicing my spread of Marines here.
Jacked up and good to go.
Oh my goodness, these Zerglings might rush in and attack my Marines.
Roll.
Why ever would I need to spread my Marines?
Commander,
Why ever would I need to spread anything?
let's move.
Rainer here.
All right, so here we go. We're gonna bait them.
Right on.
Hopefully this works. Here we go. Look
Your
at that.
forces are under
Strong! Strong man. Rainer strong man.
Right
All
on.
right.
This should be good.
I'm gonna go down here, take this out because it's fun.
Right on. This should be good.
There we go. See? Told you, he could solo everything.
Sounds fun.
Everything you start off with, Rainer can take care
Right
of.
on. Right on.
All right, now we're gonna bring the Marines in,
Should be good. Standing by.
and we're gonna move on.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Roger that. Reporting for duty.
Oops. Forgot to assign that. That's all right. All right.
Orders, Captain? Right away, sir.
Going on 9,
Fired up.
3. This is on 4 already, but I'm calling it again. 4, 5, 6. Let's see.
This is Jimmy.
So this is that area I was talking
should be
about.
good.
Move Rainer here. I like to move these guys. I like to move these guys over here. Already, I found a need for that key. God, already I found a need for this location key. This location on F4. Here's our rally location.
You got it.
And now what we're gonna do? Watch this.
Upgrade complete.
Look at that. And they're producing. And we're off.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Whoops, no. It's about right.
SCV good to go, sir. Orders, Captain? Orders received.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Actually,
SCV good to go, sir.
let's
Roger
put
that.
this guy
Right away, sir.
on 7. This is gonna be our SCV probe. I mean our SCV on 7. All right, ready?
SCV good to go, sir.
Whoops. We're gonna move these guys down here.
I read you. Roger that.
They're rallying somewhere.
SCV good to go, sir.
Son of a gun. I need to fix that. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Roger that. Job finished. SCV good to go, sir. Roger that.
There we go.
Yes, sir. Roger that.
All right.
Orders, Captain?
We want to build another guy here. Now that I got that under control,
You got my attention.
SCV good to go, sir. SCV good to go, sir.
Let's move. You want a piece of me, boy?
SCV good to go, sir. I read
look
you.
at that.
Roger that.
This is not something
Yes,
you want to
sir.
do. You do not want your
Job
workers to
finished.
pile
Right
up,
away,
but
sir.
it's okay.
Yes, sir.
You're normally not juggling with this much right off the bat.
SCV good to go, sir. Yes, sir?
Alright.
Right away, sir. Orders
Let's build.
received.
Let's actually go here and build this. Oh, you know what? Let's close these. Let's cancel these guys.
SCV good to go, sir.
And let's move our.
Orders, Captain?
Move that there.
Affirmative. Orders received.
Definitely something we want to do.
Job's finished.
Alright.
SCV good to go, sir.
Standing by. Jacked up.
Alright.
Turn up the heat.
So these are on 3.
Got my attention.
These are. Alright. These are basically 3.
Outstanding. Need a
This guy is also on 3. Cool. And so now, 3's here. When we're done with this composition, this is going to be, for practice purposes, this is basically going to be our mid-game composition.
Want to turn up the heat. Fire it up.
Once we're done with this, we're just going to spam Marines. As much as our supply, I'm sorry,
Insufficient Vespene gas.
as much as our economy will allow, we're going to spam Marines. Alright, so I have some time before I could build. No, wait, I could probably afford another one.
Need a light.
Alright,
Need a light.
cool. So now we're going to go back to here. Should be good now. Don't need to build any more SCVs there. I probably could afford to do like 1 or 2 more here.
Need a light.
See my army? Look at that. Oh my god.
You got my attention.
Alright. You need to keep tabs on my army.
Slamming. Want to turn
SCV
up
good
the
to go,
heat.
sir.
Fire it up. Let's burn.
Job's finished. SCV good to go, sir.
Alright.
Fire it up.
We'll attack guys up here. Attack these guys down here.
Piece of me, boy.
Your forces are under attack.
Fire it up.
How am I doing?
Yes.
Holy crap, I'm full on these guys.
Let's burn.
Let's move them down here first.
Want to turn up the heat. Yes. Slam
Now you'll notice I didn't even upgrade my
Orders, Captain.
attack or anything.
Reporting for duty.
Probably something I should do. Look at that. So in this mission, you don't need to put this building, this upgrade building right here, or this one right here on a key. Just build them. One of them starts close by. You can buid the other one close by.
Yes.
Save your hotkeys for something else.
Jacked up and good to go.
All right. So now I'm gonna use my caster. Yay!
Sounds fun.
Because Rainer's also a hero in the unit in this game, I'm a lot more cautious with him when it comes to clearing out these units here.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Let's go and move around.
Yes. Want to turn up the heat.
All right, let's go over here. Move these guys over here. Go over here with Rainer.
Oh yeah.
Research
Sounds
complete.
fun. Oh yeah. This should be good. Oh yeah. Sounds fun. Yes. Fire it up. Yes. You got my attention. Yes. Let's burn. Go ahead, Commander. This should be good. Right on. Sounds fun. This
Nice.
should be good.
Always happy to see that. All right. All right. Let's go here.
Fire it up. Want to turn up the heat. You got my attention. Fire it up. You got it. Fire it up. Naturally.
All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm exploring the map.
Naturally. Fire it up. Slam it. Fire it up. You got it. You got my attention. Let's burn.
I really want to know if there's more buildings here. I genuinely want to know what's on this map.
Yes. Naturally.
Great way to do that.
Let's burn. Want to turn up the heat.
And if you can help it, scouting with an army is actually a really good, safe way to scout.
Let's burn. Slam it.
In the beginning, you have not many choices but to use probes, but
Got it. Want to turn up
scouting with an army is great. Look at that!
Slam it. Let's burn.
Third base!
Fire it
There's my
up.
third base!
Yes.
Awesome!
Want to turn up the heat.
And there's... Oh yeah! This is StarCraft, alright. Woohoo! Look at that! Look at that geyser! Look how far away that geyser is! My gosh!
Want to turn up the heat. You got it. Want to turn
Oh yeah!
up the heat.
Oh yeah, we're definitely playing some real StarCraft with this
Turn up
map.
the heat. You got my attention. Yes. Slam it.
Alright, let's move these guys back up here.
You got it.
We kind of move Rainer over here and do stuff. Let's do stuff while I wait.
Right on. Oh yeah. Sounds fun. Right on. This should be good. Want to turn up the heat? Yes. Fire it up. You got it. Let's burn. Go ahead, Commander. Oh yeah. Right on. This should be good. Sounds fun. Oh yeah. Sounds fun.
Alright, he's almost dead, but that's okay.
Right on.
Because my army's almost here.
You got my attention. Want to turn up the heat?
So I found that this is actually the best way to do this.
You got my attention. Fire it up.
Have your mouse, have your
You got my attention.
Have your mouse on one point if you
Turn up the
can,
heat.
and just when you toggle, they'll all move to that point.
You got my attention. Yes. Fire it up. Slam it. Want to turn up the heat?
Look at that.
Your forces are under attack.
Yes. Let's burn.
This is how
Want to turn up the heat?
I'm teaching myself how to move an army right now.
Naturally. Let's burn. Naturally. You got it. Want to turn up the heat? You got my attention. Let's burn. What the hell do they do to that command center? Sounds fun.
All right, let's go to here.
Commander.
Look at that. Control click. Move it over.
Go, go, go. Turn up the heat. Slam it. Fire it up. Want to turn up the heat? Yes.
I didn't do a.
Yes.
I practiced everything I wanted to practice.
You got my attention.
Definitely a successful exercise. My goodness. I'm so glad I did that on video. This is the most
Receiving
successful I've done that.
transmission.
Marshal Raynor, by destroying a vital Confederate installation, you and your
14
men
minutes.
have violated standing colonial law.
Not a lot of time. I mean,
As of right now, you're all
you
under
know,
arrest. I suggest you
the first
throw
two
down
missions
your
you can do in
weapons
like 5
and
minutes.
come peaceably.
This one, when you're not talking
If we hadn't
and
burned that damn factory,
doing
this entire
everything,
colony could have been
you could
overrun.
probably do it in like 10
Maybe
minutes.
If you hadn't taken your sweet time in getting here.
Now, I asked you nice the first time.
Even
boy.
still, 15 minutes,
I
right?
didn't come here to talk with
10
you.
minutes,
Now
15
throw
minutes,
down
25
your
minutes.
weapons.
Guess you wouldn't be a Confederate if you weren't a complete pain in the ass.
All right. Woo, we're done. All right. We're done. We beat StarCraft. We can go home. We beat StarCraft, folks. We're done. We're done for the day. We're done forever. No, just kidding. It's just the first 3 missions. We haven't even come close to A, beating StarCraft, and B, being done forever, because these are just exercises. All right. So, if you've learned anything from this video other than practice exercises, it's that trying to put into words all the aspects it takes, you have to think about to actually get good at StarCraft. You can easily make a 2-hour video on it. Hard game, man. Hard video game, hard computer game, hard game. But again, like baseball, quite possibly the greatest game ever played. All right, so I covered a lot. That's good, because you know what? You can go back and watch this, revisit the parts that you need to revisit, skip over the parts that you don't. I covered a lot, but you know what? There's a lot to cover. So, as you can see, these are great exercises. And if you're on top of everything, you're looking at, like I said, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 14 minutes, 25 minutes. If you do this regimen, this exact regimen, these exact 3 missions, twice, if you do this practice sequence, this warm-up sequence twice, and that's all of your StarCraft activity for the day, you just did the equivalent of playing. You just invested an equivalent amount of time to playing on the ladder for, 10 games, 15 games, I don't know. Depending on how your games go, 5 games, 10 games. Going through this exercise twice, these 3 missions, playing it as mindfully in the mindset that we've been playing it in this video, trying to practice the things we're practicing, accomplish the skills that we're trying to accomplish. If you do it this mindfully, and you don't talk and you just focus and do it, 25 minutes, 20 minutes, do it twice, you just spend an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. Guess what? That's equal to 5 games, 10 games on the ladder, depending on how they go. And you could do this offline. So, which is a big plus. So, yeah, if you're going through those moments in life where you're not able to log into the StarCraft ladder and practice things, or another thing, I just thought of another one. And in fact, this describes me perfectly. This is exactly why it took me 20 years to even try to get good at the ladder. If you have ladder anxiety, crippling ladder anxiety, you don't even need to play the ladder. Just do these exercises in this way, if you do these missions in this way, trying to work on these skills, there's an hour. An hour's worth of your time. 30 minutes worth of your time. Easy. You can do it. Easy. So that's why we're trying to work on these exercises. If you saw the way I was playing, right? I was bouncing around all over that screen the way you should be bouncing around when you play this game. So this is a good warm-up regimen. If you're not able to log on to Battle.net, log on to multiplayer here for any reason, hop into single player. Do this. 30 minutes of your time. If you really want to get good at this game and you have ladder anxiety and you have no idea how to get good at this game, hop into single player. 30 minutes of your time. You know? No one's going to be critical of you or, you know, I hope you don't insult yourself, but if you're playing single player and anyone insults you, guess what? That person's you. Probably another bad habit to break, you know. Stop insulting yourself, right? This is a hard game. You don't deserve that. Stop it. Just put a little bit of time in. Practice these things in this way. You'll get better. Your mechanics will get better. You know, this is real-time strategy. You learn it in real time. It's not turn-based strategy. You don't have a whole bunch of stuff at your disposal and, you know, have a certain set of abilities and you cast it and there's your turn and now it's your opponent's turn and now your opponent's doing that. This is real-time strategy. If you want to play that, play turn. If you want everything to go perfectly and everyone to get an even turn, play turn-based strategy. Don't play this game. This is real time. Stuff happens in real time. A lot of weird stuff happens in real time. You know? Be ready for it. Expect it. Expect some weird, dumb stuff to happen. Expect your... Oh my god. I've seen some weird stuff. And I'm only F rank. My gosh. I've seen some weird stuff. Expect your opponent's SCV to drop into your base when you only have like 6-7 probes. This is RTS, baby. This stuff is happening right now in real time. It's not happening later at an ideal time when it's convenient for both people. No, it's happening right now, and it's happening when it's inconvenient. So you got to get in there and practice this stuff in real time. Live with the inconvenience and move past the inconvenience, because that's how you're going to get better. And yes, I am saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you. So yeah, I hope you found this. This video very, very useful. I know me, like next couple weeks, I'm gonna start streaming Brood War again. Guarantee you. When I'm streaming ladder, I guarantee you that I'm going to be doing these exercises for the first, 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to be doing these exercises for the first 15, 20 minutes of the stream before hopping in onto the ladder. Why? Because they're great warm-ups. All of these are great warm-ups. Warm up your... before you go and do a hard workout routine, or you go on 20-mile hike, before you climb a mountain, right? Before you climb a mountain, you do some, you warm your body up, you warm yourself up, right? Before you go on a 20-mile bike ride, you stretch your legs a little bit, right? Before you play a game of baseball, what do? You do some stretches, you do some exercises, right? Get your body in, you tell your body, okay, it's baseball time, right? That's what you do before you play the greatest game ever, the greatest game ever played in traditional sports. Guess what? Before you play the greatest game ever played in esports, you warm up, right? Do these exercises. I guarantee you, you might be rolling your eyes at me for doing this, hour and a half, 2-hour video? I don't know how long this has been. You might be rolling your eyes at me right now, but I guarantee you, 6 months from now, you might find me on the ladder, and 6 months from now, you might play me on the ladder, and when you do, if you've been watching this video, you're going to kick my ass on the ladder. I guarantee it, because I suck. You're going to watch this video 6 months later, kick my ass on the ladder, and at the end of the game, before I GG, you're going to be like, Arctic, I watched your video on the ladder, and I got to say, it's been a pleasure kicking your ass using your exercise regimen. And you know what? I'm not going to be offended. I'm going to be like, oh, dude, I'm so happy for you. GG. Thanks for watching. this is the end of the video. I'm gonna, I don't have a credit sequence for my videos, so I'm just gonna close it with the title screen again. GG. Thank you for watching. And as always, of course, stay safe and take care. See you on the ladder.